Only seeing Kaylee and Elena. Hey, girls. Looks like we got 6. Still missing Lila. You guys hear me? Thumbs up. Okay. I'm gonna wait for, hopefully Lila can get in. You guys watch the game? Here comes Ellie. It's a pretty good game for a while. It's a bummer about Halliburton. It's pretty sad. It's become like too common of an injury. It's crazy. It's really sad though. All right, so hey, now that Lila's here, I have this listed as 8 to 8:30, so I'm gonna try to keep it to 8:35. And you can do some of this work offline. So you all brought home this packet, and so the presentation, and I still owe you guys, I'm gonna send you 2 visualizations in the next, I don't know, hopefully, I'm gonna hopefully do it tonight and get them sent to you so that you have the 2 visualizations that I told you I was gonna send you one. And I didn't get that sent out, but I have another one I'm gonna send you as well. So I'm hoping to get those out to you tonight, if not tomorrow. I'm a little busy right now, all right? You're gonna need the packet that I gave you just to do some work on your own, or while we're here. But before we get started, I'd like to start with like some progress challenge. So somebody's willing to volunteer and turn their mic on and just volunteer to go. We'll have 2 people go. And I want you to just give me one challenge for the week and one bit of progress for the week in regard to like your mindset and what we talked about last week, your elephant and your rider and your 7-day challenge. I don't know, just somebody want to share out? It's a small group and you're here to lead, so this is a good opportunity to do that. Let's talk about how it went. One progress, one challenge. Did anybody make it 7 days? So I'm gonna write in the chat. So nobody wants to volunteer? It's only fun if it's only works if we are willing to participate, right?
I'll go.
Okay, thank you, Ellie.
So something that like progress is me personally, like, so mine was to like go to sleep earlier, and now like since I tried to, at least I didn't like do it every single day, but now like I'm more programmed to go to sleep early than I was like before. So that's becoming like more of like a something that I'm like able to do that's like, I don't know, yeah, easier.
That's perfect. Like conscious effort. What's getting in the way? What typically gets in the way of you not going to sleep?
Like being on my phone and like feeling like I need to like be on my phone and stuff.
Right? So now that's a good opportunity for you to like maybe create another one, right? So in terms of your phone, like, hey, can I go 7 days and put my phone downstairs or put my phone under my mattress like under my mattress, right? It's just another opportunity. That's all it really is. It's not a negative thing. It's just an opportunity for you to try something different, right?
Yeah.
And those things, you stack those things on top of each other, and then you're building good habits. Like that's, and then you start rewarding yourself. We're going to talk about that today. Sort of that that tiered process of what happens with the like with negative thought, right? And how it leads you down the wrong direction. Thank you. Thank you for volunteering. Anybody else? Anybody else want to talk about their 7-day challenge and any progress, or the girls that, how about the girls that were at camp this week? Any challenges in progress on your 7-day challenge that was a result of camp? If you don't want to talk, you can always type it in the chat.
Okay, I can go.
Yeah, you don't.
So, wait, the 7-day commitment? So mine was like trying to like limit down my screen time. And when I was at camp, like I obviously didn't have like a lot of time to like even be on my phone, but like when I wasn't, I found that I was like more productive and that like it was just easier to do things without just like constantly looking at my phone like every second.
Was it challenging for you? Like when you got back to your room, did you hear your brain calling out to check my phone, check my phone?
Oh yeah.
So how did you manage that?
I mean, like I probably did like check it a few times, but I mean, like it wasn't like a constant like thing. I don't know. I just like told myself that I should probably like go do something.
Did you have any positive thoughts about not being on your phone?
Yeah, I was like definitely more productive, and then I just like felt less distracted
Mm.
when I like wasn't like on my phone.
What about when you weren't actually doing something for camp, but you weren't on your phone? What were you doing?
I was probably like in somebody else's dorm or like I don't really know, cause like our dorm we like all like hung out, so I didn't really like think about being on my phone a lot.
That's great. That's, you were, I guess, as old folks would say, you were making your own memories instead of watching others, right? Yeah, that's awesome. All right, thank you for sharing. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna get going on this and dial you guys into this next process. So we talked about last time, we talked about our conscious thoughts um and our subconscious beliefs, right? Our rider and our elephant. And hopefully you guys, as you were going through your week, and you started to have some of these negative thoughts about doing some negative things and doing some things that you knew might not be in your best interest, you remembered that it was not real. It was your elephant. It's just the innate part of you, that nature that says, no, 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 go back to doing what I'm used to doing because that's where I'm safe, right? So the average human, this is not supposed to say words, it's supposed to say thoughts. So the average human has about 50 to 70,000 thoughts in a day. And about 80% of those thoughts are negative, right? We are living in what we call a negative bias world, like that we tend to remember the negative things. Okay, so it takes effort for us to actually work on positive thoughts. It takes work, right? So I want to make sure that like when we start feeling those negative thoughts, like go to my phone, I know it's bad for me, I'm going to go for it, or I'm going to stay up a little bit later, right? It takes work. It takes practice. It's not normal for us to want to do that. It's not normal for the human brain to do that, right? Because change means danger. Doing something that you don't normally do it's not safe. It's not what your brain innately, organically tells you is normal for you, right? So it's different. So you have to work on it, right? And that's why you guys are all here, because you've taken that first step to work on that part of who you are, right? So we live in what we call a negativity bias world. That means that when all these things happen to you, those 70 to 80,000 thoughts a day happen to you, the human brain tends to remember the negative stuff more, right? So like if you get home at the end of the day and your parents say, "How was your day?" Think about how that goes. Normally you don't tell them, like, you might say like, "I did well on a test," but the first things you tell your parents are like, "So and so was mean to me," or this, like, "Oh, I it was really hard for me to run the mile today," or it's typically a negative bias. That's just who we are as humans. And that's different percentage for everybody, but it's natural for us to want to sort of gravitate to the things that were hard, right? Because it wasn't safe for us, right? It takes practice. to do that. So it's not a Band-Aid. It's something that we have to do over time. And again, you guys have taken this big leap. So I'm excited for you guys. All right. So again, this is in some of the stuff I've given you. This is the entire process that we're going to go through. So the first part was just, hey, you know, how does my brain work? Why do I think the way I do? And it's normal. Now I'm going to work towards improving that, right? And we're going to work on your game time preparation, in-game routines, post-game routines. I'm gonna teach you what my teacher calls the braver. It's a basic breathing sort of routine that we've done at workouts already, but something that I want you guys to do on your own, become part of your daily habits, or at least on game day habits. Okay, and we're gonna work towards that, right? So in your packet, or in the sheets I gave you today, there is a sheet that says, it says work of Byron Katie, negative limiting thoughts. I don't have mine in front of me. I think the girls have it. I think it's the last sheet that you have, one of the last sheets. And it says work of Byron Katie, limiting thoughts. Right. And so negative thoughts, right? So it's really important that we're aware of those limiting thoughts, like what's keeping us from being positive, and for us to be conscious of how to fight against those, right? So we need to start questioning those thoughts and beliefs. Like, why do I actually think that I'm not good at this? Why do I actually think I'm a poor free throw shooter? Or why do I think I can't dribble the ball? Right. And the best way to do that is just to crack the door open with some curiosity. Like, why am I thinking that way? Instead of being mad at yourself, just question it. Like, why would I think that way? Right. And so Byron Katie's thoughts, she gives these tools, or he gives these tools on how to actually turn those thoughts around. So when you think something negative, how to turn it around. We have two types of limiting beliefs. The first is internal. It's personal. Like, I'm just bad at singing. I was born slow. I was born not good at shuffling my feet, or whatever it might be, right? The other limiting thought is externally based, right? Like, it's hard to make money because I live in a competitive community. And a lot of that stuff is based in race and gender and socioeconomic sort of standing, right? Like, I'll never get a job here because I'm not part of this social group, or I'm not going to be able to join the certain club because these people already have their bias and who they want to hang around with, things like that, right? So there's two different types of thoughts, right? It's not to say that there aren't limits. Like, there are definitely going to be things that you come across that we can't control in terms of those kind of limiting thoughts, and why we can't get to where we get to, like discrimination and biases, things outside of your control. But there's a lot of things that we can choose to do and be better at, which starts with you and how you go about thinking about it, right? So what I want to do is we're going to choose like a limiting belief that you have about yourself. So take 30 seconds, and I want you to think, what is something about yourself? And let's stick to basketball for now, if you want to, or you don't have to. And think about something that you think about yourself that that you think is limiting you, like something that you think you're not good at, right? So take 20 seconds to come up with something. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna get a glass of water. All right. So something that you think that you're not good at, right? Like, for me, maybe it would be, I would never sing in public, right? Shower only for me, right? I would never do karaoke. I would kill people that way. Okay. So when you think about something that you got to challenge that belief with curiosity, right? And so here's what Byron Katie says is the work, right? So if you look at your sheet, this kind of gives you that information right there. And I want us to be able to think, like, I'm going to say to you going forward at different times where we might be in practice or a workout or a game. And this is the work that I want us to do on your limiting thoughts, right? Is it true? Ask yourself, can you absolutely know that that limiting thought is true, right? So real quick, in the chat, I want you to type out what you wrote down, what your limiting thought was. What thought do you have that limits your progress based on the fact that you think you're not good at it? Come on, chatters, put it in there. Okay, good. These are all really good, right? So ask yourself, do you absolutely know that it's true? And then find some sort of evidence. What evidence do you have that it isn't true? Right? So like I can go down the line and I can find evidence for all of you that at least those of you, like I've spent a lot of time with a lot of you. Like I've seen Eliana, I've seen you make 3 threes in a game. I've seen you bang shots when it was an important time in games, right? Delaney, I've seen you get your hands on balls in crowds, right? So that and so there's all you have to go through and think a little deeper. And what is it that I can find that isn't true? Because there might be some things that you come across where you're like, yeah, that's just not good. But like, if you really dig deeper and you start to think about, well, maybe that there is a time that I was actually able to go by somebody. Like Addie, you saying that you have like your left hand, right? I've seen you go both directions. Like to me, that there's plenty of evidence that that is absolutely not true, right? And it's just about how you think about it. It's not about whether it's true, false, or fact. And we're going to move into this next, but it's how you go about thinking about that limiting thought, right? And then how do you react when that happens? What do you believe about that thought? Who would you be without that thought? So for example, Eliana, who would you be as a player if you were able to get rid of that negative belief? Who would you be, right? And there would be action behind that. You'd start to do different things, right? You'd start to be more confident. You start to shoot without hesitation. You miss one, you wouldn't be worried about it the next time. Addie, you wouldn't go down the floor and worry about being driven to your left. That girl that sits on your right shoulder, you know that you could go that way, right? Nor I've seen you handle the ball. It's not that's not false. I mean, that's not true, right? It's about how you go about thinking about it. And you have to start thinking about what would you look like without that thought. And so I gave you that little worksheet in your own time tonight, tomorrow. I want you to think about 3 or 4 of these things. And you're going to see in just a moment, we're going to go through some examples in this tear process, right? We talked about our reticular activating system last time, right? What are the things that your brain filters out for you, right? The only things that you hear are loud sounds, your name, flirting, and what you've told it to look for, right? So if you go back to those chats and you look at all these things that you're saying you're not good at, what's going to happen when you come off the floor? What's going to happen the night after the game? You're going to go back to all these things that you told yourself to look for. Oh man, I just can't dribble. I'm not quick enough to play in the game against these girls. Man, I have no vertical. I can't drive the ball to the basket, right? These are all the things that you're telling yourself. So we're going to look like we did the blue color test, right? So now let's talk about how we deal with these thoughts, right? So part of finding safety, because we talked about our brain and our motivation triad, right? Like being safe, we want pleasure, right? Part of the human brain and part of what we do is we try to be right all the time. We work to prove ourselves right. I had a girl in my first 2 years coaching. at San Marin who would get fouled, and she would go to the foul line, Kayla Simonetti, and before she even received the ball, she would turn to the bench and say, I'm not a good free throw shooter. I'm not going to make it. Before she even shot the ball, right? So she would work to prove herself right. So she would miss and say, I told you, right? Instead of working towards being more positive and saying, hey, I can make this one. I made one I made them in practice. Or if I make this one, I'm going to help the team. It's about how you go about it, right? So like Henry Ford, built own Ford company, said, if you think you can or you think you can't, no matter which one you think, you're right. All right, so I'm going to teach you guys the tear process, and we're going to do one of these together, and I'm going to have you do the rest offline so I can get you out of here on promised time, okay? So the tear process, it's an acronym. T is for thought, E is for emotion, A is for action, and R is for result, right? And really what it's about is the ripple effect of one thought and how it just leads you down into negativity, right? So here's a good example for me, right? I stole this presentation, but this happened to me tonight, right? So I'm going to change these a little bit. But my thought was, I'm still cooking dinner. I'm not ready to sit down and get this done. I'm going to be late, and I can't get anything done right now because of all the stuff I got to get done. So my emotion, E, was I was angry. I was frustrated. I was scrambling around, right? And the action was that I was like kind of banging pots and pans, and my papers were all over the place, and kind of griping it at Lisa and Delaney as she came in, right? And then I wasn't really centered, so I had to start late. I didn't get to start on time. It was 8:05 by the time we got started, 8:06, right? Because I wasn't prepared. I didn't feel like I was prepared, right? So it was this train of thought that I was going through, right? Instead, what I should have done, right, and what I could have done, and what happened when I finally got into my seat was like, I can do this. I'm ready. The presentation's up on my screen, right? Took a drink of water. I got calm, right? And now here we are, and we're nailing it, right? And you guys are engaged, and we're getting there, right? So there's all kinds of situations like this where this goes down the line, and you've probably heard me say this today, but what happens when, so like a situation where you have a bunch of stuff to get done in one day, you have a ton of homework, right? Tuesday night, ton of homework, you got practice, parents want you to clean the room, right? So you start getting really scattered, right? Your brain gets all over the place, and you start telling yourself you don't have enough time to get anything done. You just don't, right? So the emotion is what? You're overwhelmed, you're not motivated. And what the human does is we start doing worky work, right? We procrastinate on the stuff that we think we know, we really do know we're supposed to get it done, but we start doing the worky work, right? We clean our desk off, we organize our clothes, we fold some stuff, we organize our makeup, right? We basically distract ourselves from the things that we really need to get done, and we don't get anything done, right? So what would be the alternate, right? What would be the best way to go through that process, right? And this is a secret. You've heard me say this to you guys before already. And it's just this little saying that you can say to yourself. And my mentor teaches us this, and it's I have just enough time to get the things done that are important to me, right? I have just enough time to get done the things that are important to me. There are things that you can put aside, and it's the 5 Ds, and I'll teach you about those later, but you can figure that stuff out later, but you always have time to get the things that are done that are important to you, right? So that thought process of all that stuff you need to get done, it really motivates you, it empowers you, you feel focused, sit down, you open up that homework that you know you need to get done, you can do your room later, right? And you move on through those things, and you start to pound down those tasks. By the time you go to bed, you've gotten the things done that are really important, right? But it's all about that thought process, okay? Here's some examples when it comes to basketball, right? I didn't play last game. Your thought process is, I'll never get off the bench. What's the point? Your emotion is now you're unmotivated. You're not confident. You're not putting the work in anymore, right? You stop practicing as hard. You start to pout, That's the action, and coach sees that. You don't put in the extra time to improve, and what happens? You don't get better. Instead, remind yourself, I'm here to push myself and get to another level every day. The results will come. The emotion from that is you start to feel motivated. I can do this. I'm in control of my situation. I'm in control of what happens. I can go talk to coach, right? So your action is you practice harder, you focus when you're there, you hold your head up high, you look different at practice, and you improve, right? And what happens? Coach sees that, right? So tied to that same act, those same actions is my coach doesn't like me, right? So my coach hates me. We've all been in that situation. My coach doesn't like me. What's the emotion that comes along with that? What's the emotion that comes along with that? I know some of you haven't liked your coaches. I know there's people in this room who have had some ideas about not liking their coaches, right? And what's the emotion that goes along with that? I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. Maybe I want to quit. So you stop working as hard. And next thing you know, you're not playing anymore because coach feels that. I know maybe 4 of you had a coach that was like that. You freshmen had a coach that was very much in some heads, right? And you could see the way that some of you were going about your action, right? Instead, you could have thought about it differently, right? You could have looked at it like, he's just pushing me because he believes in me. And I know that coach, and he may not do it the right way, but that's really what he's aiming for, right? But we could have taken that differently, all of us, your team, and looked at it differently. And if you would have thought about it from a different perspective of, well, he's just pushing me because he believes in me. He knows I'm better than what I've been giving. What's the emotion that comes with that, right? Empowered. You feel good about it. Like, you're right. I'm in control. You start to work harder. You start to ignore the negative comments that come from that coach. And what happens? You start playing better. Start to play more. Coach stops getting up on your ass, right? So that intentional thought work is the human superpower. The way you go about your belief and the way that you think about situations is the human superpower. We're the only creature on earth that can do that, right? And it's just about practice. I, for one, am the first person to say that, like, I'm still working on it. It's part of the reason I've gone through this process is to try to create more confidence for you as a mentor, and for me to work through the challenges of being a coach when things don't go well, right? And so I can, in the 4 months that I've been really putting this work in, like, I can feel it. Like, I can feel it when I'm around you guys. I can feel it when I'm coaching. It still creeps back in, but I'm much more conscious now of the way that I'm going about coaching, and I'm having so much more fun doing it. It's just a whole different experience, right? And playing can be the same way. When things don't go well, if you start to look at it from a different perspective, you can change it. So that's the tool, all right? So on your sheets that I gave you, all of this information is there. And I want you to keep it with your, wherever you keep your homework, wherever you keep your journal. I know you don't have to carry this around, right? But what I've done is I've given you some of these printouts from my workbook that give you some of these examples, right? You have these, right? And what we're going to do before I let you go is I want you to do, has anybody done one yet? Because I gave you the worksheet with some empty ones. There's an empty one in white and there's another one in green, right? And what you're supposed to do is you're going to put your negative thought in the original mentality. What was the emotion that came with that? What happened action-wise? And what was the result? And then what is a different way you can go about reframing that thought? What emotion might come from that? How might you act different? And what might be the result you get? Right? I'm going to give you like 3 minutes to work on one of those. And then I want someone to be willing to share theirs. And you can share it in the chat, or you can just turn on your mic and say, here's what I came up with. I just want one. In your own time, you can fill out the rest. Right? But do me a favor and do it. Right? Because I'm going to bring this back up to you. Okay? Tear process. I'm gonna ask you, does it have to be true? Is it true? Does it have to be true? How could we look at this different? Basketball especially is an emotional game. I know most of you are negative ticks too, right? Like, you know, mine. Like when you guys play, some of your like your body language around something that you think is negative is really obvious. Right? Addie, you got the clap. Right? So that's a really good opportunity when that happens and you feel yourself doing that. Right? How do you reframe that? Oh, that was a good drive. It's all right. I'm still doing the right thing. I'm taking the ball to the hole. It's still a good move. It was an open shot. I just didn't make it, but I know I can make it. Next time you shoot it different. You feel confident. Next one goes down. So all of these things you gave me in your chat, think about those. Think about what those mean to you when you reframe them. I think I gave you an extra sheet that we're not going to use tonight, the one that says week 4. Oh no, it's got some information on there that helps. But we'll talk more about thinking like an athlete on game day on our 4th lesson. If somebody finishes and wants to share. Maybe it's something that's happened to you where you actually have already done this without knowing it. Reframed your mentality. What about one of you campers? Nora already went. What about one of you campers? Anything that you learned this week that fits in the tear process? Something that you went to camp thinking you weren't good at, but learned at camp that you're actually pretty good at it? And that you could fit it into that tear process?
I would think I'm not a good free throw shooter because I can't make them in games. So I'd practice them then at camp. I had a chance to make my team like leave the big tournament and I made it. So it showed myself I can make it under pressure.
Okay, so you went into camp thinking that you're not a good free throw shooter, right? So how did you feel when you stepped up to the line? Nervous? Right? What happens in games?
Yes, very nervous.
What happens in games when when you feel like you can't make free throws?
I usually miss them.
Right? And then what happens from that?
I feel disappointed in myself and I feel like I let everyone down.
Right? And there comes a time, right, where you kind of wish you don't get fouled. You're not trying to get fouled. Maybe you stop playing as hard around the basket, right? Or you step up to the line and don't feel like you can make it, right? And that's not a good place to be. And what you learned at camp is that you can't actually make free throws. I've seen you make free throws, right? Right. And you need to step to the line with confidence because I know you can make it, right? And now that you've done that in camp in front of everybody, right? You should be conscious of that. You did it under that much pressure. All those boys and girls watching you, hoping you miss, right? Hoping you're still stuck in there, right? And you made it. And now hopefully for you, the action is you're going to try to get more free throws, right? And you're going to make more free throws when they matter. Okay. That's a great example. Thank you for sharing. Okay. So on your own tonight, before you move on to the next stage of your night or whatever you're going to do, please fill out the rest of those, right? They don't need to be basketball related. They can be important to you in your life in some way, right? It could be something totally different, right? Totally off kilter. This is not just about basketball, this process that we're going through. I want it to help us together as a group, right? And I want you to think about how can you, as a leader in our program, help teach this to your teammates? How can you pass this lesson from today onto your teammates going forward without actually giving them a 45-minute presentation? How can you help them?
Can I say something?
Say it again. Yeah.
Oh, so like for example, like let's say like somebody has like a bad thought like during the game, like they're like, "Oh my God, like I should have made that shot," or something like that. Instead, like I could say something like encouraging that kind of like ties back to this and like is like the reframe mentality.
Yeah, hell yeah, right? Because thoughts are what? Thoughts aren't facts. They're not real. Thoughts aren't real. They're something we conjecture. We make it up based on something that we want to believe is true, because what you're learning here is that your brain is trying to be right. It wants to be safe. It wants for it to feel good. It wants you to feel good about being right. Right? So even when you tell yourself something negative, you're going to try to make it true when it's not. Right? So you can help your teammates say, "Hey, that's just a thought. Doesn't matter. I've seen you make them a practice. Let it go. Play hard. Let's go play D. Let's go." Right? And that's how you make your teammates better. Right? You got to do the work on yourself first, but you can pass this sort of mentality on to your teammates. Right? Don't let them go down that rabbit hole. Okay? Don't let them do that. We're going to do some work as a group as well. But this is a big step for you as a group to try to take this to your teammates. Try to take this, you could take this thought process to camp. You're going to hear it from your campers. I suck. I'm terrible. I can't shoot. Right? And we have like third graders, sixth graders, like not supposed to be good at shooting yet. Right? So you can easily reframe their messaging and their thought process by having them reevaluate how they look at it. Okay. All right. So that's it for today. I'm gonna do a visualization for you, like a recording. I'm trying to figure out how to get it to you. Again, this is going to be recorded and I'm going to send this back out to you. I know you probably won't watch it again, but if you subscribe to my page, it's all going to be in there. So if you guys want to ever go back and look at something, you can do that. Not that you will. There will be some stuff that I put in here that you might want to go look back at some point, but I'm going to send you a recording, it's something that you could probably listen. I think it comes through on when you click on it, it'll come through on Apple Music so you can listen to it. And today's visualization is tied to today's lesson, right? It's about changing how you believe about yourself being successful. Okay. So I'm going to send that to you. You can listen to it tonight. You can listen to it in the morning before camp. But I'm going to ask you at some point, have you listened to it? Right? Because I'm also practicing. This is also practice for me, admittedly, creating these for you guys and for people. And if it works for you and you like it, then it's something you could always go back to. Okay. It's always something you can go back to, but we're going to practice more visualization. The next lesson is about this breathing technique and this visualization and quiet time, 2 minutes before games, before practice, before tests, before you leave the house. That I think is a really great tool. I've been using it for the last 2 months. And it just changes the way you start your day. It changes the way you go into tough situations. It changes the way you feel when you're dealing with stress. All right. So I'm just going to encourage you to try it and stick to it, because all we're doing right now is practice. It's just practice, just like the 7 days and so forth. Right. So your 7-day challenge this week, it's not to quit something. It's to be conscious of your negative thoughts. It's to be conscious about how you go through that process. So the next 7 days, and I'm going to ask you again next week when we get together, did you have a tear process situation in the last 7 days? Were you conscious of it? What was it? Right? So that's your challenge. When you start to think negative, how can you rephrase it? Is it true? What would it look like if it wasn't true? How does it reflect on my emotion? How does it reflect in the way I act? And what does that do to the result of what I'm looking for by being negative? And how can I reframe it to positive and turn that stuff into a positive performance? Right? Okay. All right. Go get some sleep. Big week ahead. Thanks for being here. You guys are the best. Have a good night.